5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm just sitting over here having an existential crisis. This is not, this is just a really difficult conversation. You know, listening to farmers talk about the lack of water and kind of this Sophie's choice between how do we feed people and make sure that all of the species that we have are being protected as well. But I'm going to get off that topic and ask Assistant Administrator Coit a quick question. So in Alaska, we have ANILCA, Alaska National Lands, I'm awful with this acronym, acronyms, Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act. And this act requires that on federal lands, the top priority be subsistence and the top user group be rural people who live in proximity to that resource when it's in shortage. And I'm wondering, Administrator Coit, how do you balance a law like ANILCA and a law like Endangered Species Act if they're conflicting?
Thank you for that question. As you know, Section 10E of the Endangered Species Act exempts the taking of listed animals for subsistence purposes by Alaska Natives. That helps prevent the conflict that you just referenced.
And it also, if I may, sorry,
Sure.
and it also prevents rural people from, because ANILCA isn't just for natives, it's for rural people, whatever their ethnicity is.
On the general question in terms of statutory requirements, you know, ANILCA, like any other law, is something that we're required to take into account and satisfy. And so harmonizing ESA and ANILCA is our responsibility. And I'm not aware of specific conflicts between the two. I can look into that further.
Okay, and I'd like to ask, if I might, Mr. Chairman, the same question of Director Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Congresswoman Peltola. I would, for the Fish and Wildlife Service to get to a specific conflict between the Endangered Species Act and ANILCA, I think is an example that has come up throughout today, is that we'll do our very best to prevent having that direct conflict. And the Fish and Wildlife Service Alaska region has been paying more and more attention to subsistence work and would try to prevent that from even happening, the conflict. So I think the first answer is to not get to that conflict and for us to be doing our very best to be working with communities and Alaska Natives before getting to that.
Okay, and to Mr., is it Vibert? Vibert.
Yeah.
I guess I'd just like to yield my time to you in the event that you'd like to add anything to this conversation, the larger conversation, not ANILCA, of course.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I interrupted. I know you had time. But what I was saying, and you know, it would be too easy to do. That has been proposed in my area with the spotted frog, and the Fish and Game didn't want to. They don't want to do that. And you know, what it boils down to is the river that I'm near, the Deschutes River, flows high all year long, and it is had effect on certain species of fish and wildlife. And you know, we are some of the implementation by the scientists. And when I say that loosely as far as experts go, because in my opinion, an expert is a has-been drip under pressure. You can find a scientist who'll believe one way, and I can go. You could find one, you know, vice versa. There's got to come a point here where we all come together and do what is best for the community and the species at hand. I have a notebook on all of you guys. Googled it, and I'll tell you, there's an all-star cast here, and you know, the disheartening part about it is when I was here, there was some that just didn't ask the people that were actually on the ground what's going on. And it's hurtful. I know you guys wouldn't want to be treated the same way, and we are trying to supply something to you.
Thank you, Chair. Recognizes Congressman